Hello, science students. Now that we've learned a little bit about waves, we can start talking about the electromagnetic spectrum. We've learned from a previous video, one that wasn't mine, that electromagnetic waves are kind of disturbances in electric and magnetic fields, and that they're transverse waves. Now we want to talk a little bit about what specific types of electromagnetic radiation there are, and how to identify those and what their names are and kind of what they mean a little bit. So the goal is just to be able to identify different parts of the electromagnetic spectrum. We're going to define the electromagnetic spectrum as the entire range of wavelengths of magnetic radiation, including visible light. So the light we see actually is an electromagnetic wave. Let's take a look at the electromagnetic spectrum. So this is a very simplified version of this. We're going to talk about three main sections. The frequency in our diagram is going to go from low to high. So we're low on the left and we're high on the right, which is why my arrow is pointing this way. So we're increasing the frequency. And the wavelength is going to increase from right to left. So here we have very small wavelength. Over here we have very long wavelength. Okay, so there are three main sections. Section number one is over here. Okay, this is our low frequency, long wavelength section. These tend to have low energy, and there's three main types you've probably heard of, which are infrared, microwaves, and radio waves. And like I said, these are going to be our low energy section of the electromagnetic spectrum. Let's actually jump all the way over to the right. That's going to be our high energy section. You can think of it as the frequency is much higher, so it's moving much more rapidly, and the wavelength is much shorter. For the same reason, it's squished together. You're seeing many, many, many more waves. There are three main types of light that we're going to see in this section as well. Those include gamma rays. Those will include X-rays. And it also includes ultraviolet light. Okay, so we're not necessarily going to go into a huge amount of details there, but these higher energy electromagnetic waves are the ones that are sometimes a little bit more hazardous. You've probably had an X-ray before and worn a kind of that lead vest to make sure that you don't take in too many. We wear sunscreen to prevent ultraviolet light from doing too much damage to our skin, for example. On the other side, infrared probably makes you think of heat, and rightly so. It helps transfer heat. Microwaves, again, they kind of heat up things in our microwave. And then radio waves, we're not as worried about those, right? They get sent kind of to and fro all the time. So that's why they're in our low energy section, and this is in our high energy section on the right. Okay, right in the middle of these. And it's very important to us, which is why we've left that separate. This is our visible light. This is light that we can see. Okay, so we're just going to open this up a little bit and talk about that in a little more detail. So low energy light. These are now in the same order. The colors that are closer to the left are lower energy. The colors that are closer to the right are higher energy. You've probably heard of Roy G. Biv. So infrared comes straight from red. Okay, and the ultraviolet means it's a little bit more extreme than V, which stands for violet. So we have red light, and then orange light, and then yellow light, and then green light, and then blue light, and then kind of in a strange turn of events, we have indigo light, and then we have violet light. Okay, so that's the visible part of the spectrum. We go from red to violet. This is because the red, orange, yellows, those are lower energy light waves, and the blue, indigo, violet, higher energy light waves. The green and blue kind of in the middle. The interesting part of this is that all these different things, they're just different versions of the same type of thing. They're all electromagnetic waves, but this small set, and this is not to scale, this should be much smaller, it is only a very tiny portion of that spectrum we can see. Now, we can sense a lot of these other ones using technology or other means, but this is the kind of anatomy of the electromagnetic spectrum. We have low energy types of waves over here with our infrared, microwaves, and radio, and we have high energy gamma rays, X-rays, and ultraviolet on the right. I'm not going to tell you the order at this point because your job is to kind of recreate the electromagnetic spectrum using my video and maybe a couple other videos, and what tools of research tools you have available to you to recreate your own electromagnetic spectrum. Your job is to print this diagram, fill in the visible light in order up here, fill in the other types of light that I gave you now in order from lowest energy to highest energy. And here, you don't need to give me numbers for the frequency and the wavelength, but you need to label high and low, or longer or shorter, in order to develop your understanding. You can see in this particular diagram, something I didn't do: longer wavelength, shorter wavelength, higher frequency, much lower frequency. So please do, if you want to, use color to fill this in. Okay, so use my video, other videos, and anything you can. Get this worksheet done. Thanks for watching today's video.